Some historians call them America's castles. Perhaps they are right. Built solidly of brick, stone, and wood, they have withstood the ravages of untold storms and gales and guided countless ships to safety. Like the castles of Europe, many of our lighthouses are said to be haunted, inhabited by the spirits of past keepers and their families. Many of the lighthouses have been abandoned, left to crumble into piles of rubble. Others have been purchased by private citizens or turned over to local historical groups for preservation. With these old buildings came the haunting spirits, the steady thumps of the old keeper pacing upstairs, or the unmistakable sound of his slow steps still climbing the cold iron stairs to the lamp room. Perhaps it's the strange cold spots in the old family quarters, or the voices echoing in the tower when it's empty. Is it the eerie beam of a light in the old lamp room, or the misty image of a long-dead keeper trapped forever in an ancient mirror? Sometimes it's things that move on their own, rearranged silverware or furniture. The evidence is very real. There are witnesses that verify these supernatural happenings. They have witnessed things that are beyond our understanding.
Exciting and scared at the same time. It's just spooky, and I get an eerie feeling every time I come over here anymore.
These old lighthouses may be empty of the living, but certainly are not empty of the past. Why the spirits still haunt the old lights is of course unknown, but there are theories. Light keeping was a very repetitive job. At dusk, the keeper made the long climb up the spiral stairs to light the lamps for the night. At dawn, he went up again to extinguish them and prepare the apparatus for the next night. Throughout the navigation season, this simple act of climbing the tower was constant. Could it be that in death his spirit continues the same action as in life? Still climbing the tower, still loyally doing his duty?
There is a line where fantasy and reality can cross, and things can become very fuzzy. And pulled by forces we don't understand, we can cross that line. Have you ever seen someone who wasn't there? Have you heard cold, distant voices when there were no people? Or smelled the pungent odor of a cigar in an empty room? Or sensed that you were not alone? If so, you have crossed that line into an area where history can come alive again, if only for a very brief instant.
Seul Choix Point Light stands at the end of a small peninsula jutting into northern Lake Michigan. 60 miles west of the Straits of Mackinac, it wards vessels away from dangerous reefs and shoals. Seul Choix roughly translates from the French as meaning only choice. It marked the only harbor the old voyagers found along this treacherous stretch of Lake Michigan. Congress voted the funds to build the lighthouse in 1886, but a series of delays resulted in it not opening until 1895. By any standard, it is one of the most beautiful lighthouses on the Great Lakes, with an almost unprecedented level of detail and design. The light was well maintained by both the U.S. Lighthouse Service and, after 1939, U.S. Coast Guard. In 1973, it was no longer manned. The original third-order Fresnel lens has been replaced by an automatic rotating airport beacon. Although diminished in intensity, the Seul Choix Point beam still stands guard over the rocky reefs and shoals. In 1988, The Gulliver Historical Society began restoration of the light station, eventually establishing an outstanding lighthouse and area history museum. It was a difficult job. The buildings had suffered badly from 15 years of neglect. Repairs were needed everywhere. The members of the society also discovered that the structure wasn't quite empty. At least one spirit still walked the empty halls. There are eerie incidents in this lighthouse that cannot be explained by normal events. Part of the restoration work involved repair of the floor at the base of the staircase. While finishing the work, a local carpenter had an experience that drove him from the lighthouse, vowing never to return.
On this particular day, the guy I worked with was sick, so I came down by myself to tear out part of the hallway. Figured we could get a little bit done that day. And it was your normal day. It wasn't gloomy or dark or spooky or anything. It was 9, 10 o'clock in the morning, and I just began chiseling out some of the tile. And as I was chiseling, it almost sounded like somebody walking above me. I'd stop, wouldn't hear anything. There's the myth and the legend of all the things that go on down here. This person's seen shadows, and this one smelt this, and things have been turned around, and pages moved and whatnot. But anyway, I carried on and started going at it again, and sure enough, I thought I heard it, so I paused again with my work. Nothing heard. And went back to work, started pounding, and I was pretty sure I heard something this time, so when I stopped, there was 3-4 more steps. I was almost, I didn't have my timing down when I was pounding, if they were sneaking up on me or whatever it may be, but, an old stair would creak. You could tell someone was at the top of the stairs, on their way down. Whatever it's going to be, I don't want to be here when they get to the bottom.
Not waiting to see who or what it was, he abandoned his tools and ran from the lighthouse. He refused to come back to the job. While all are authentic antiques, the furniture in the lighthouse is not original to the light, with the exception of one round oak table. Originally found in pieces scattered around the basement, it was carefully restored and now is the centerpiece of the recreated kitchen. This room is also a hotspot of unusual activity. Ovanda Reyes, one of the volunteer tour guides, explains the phenomenon of the shifting silverware. The changes often happen when the lighthouse is locked tight for the night and is empty of human presence.
The silverware keeps turning, changing on our table. Sometimes the silverware it'll be put on the table like that, and sometimes the fork will be turned over like this, and then maybe a day or so later, the knife and the spoon will be turned over. Sometimes the fork will be turned up that way,